Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Chris Bradley, owner of the MRR agency. In today's video, we're talking all things Claude Co-Work and how you can automate anything using Claude Co-Work. It is effectively going to be your AI employee. Of course, you see all this stuff on the internet, Claude bot, all these types of things. This is a realistic one for you, the business owner who is busy, stressed out, wants more sales, wants more time back. And I'm going to show you two working examples of what I've got inside my business and a few other examples as we go that will help you visualize, okay, how can I get Claude Co-Work to work for me, save me time, and drown out the noise of AI and actually use something practical. So let's get stuck in. So I turned Claude into an AI employee. This is part of one of our trainings from Claude with Chris. So most people use Claude like a search box. They ask, they copy, they close the tab, whereas Co-Work is the version of Claude that does the actual work. Please let that sink in. Claude Co-Work is the version that does the actual work. Now, of course, when you're in Claude Chat, it can do a lot of stuff for you now. You know, you can turn Opus 4.0, 7, put it to high, and it'll produce some good work. But that's where you have to be there, manually doing it. This stuff works on your computer. It goes and finds files inside your computer and it talks to other applications that are linked and provides reports and all that good stuff. So it opens your files, it runs your apps, and it finishes the job while you're off doing something else. 5 steps. I'll set one up live so you can copy it straight after. So step 1, turning it on. Co-Work lives in the Claude desktop app. Let me actually just get this little highlighter here so it's easier for you. So Claude Co-Work lives in the Claude desktop app, which looks like this. So make sure you download it on Mac or whatever you're using. Use the Claude Code desktop app and you will see it here, not the browser. You can use Claude Chrome if you're using Chrome and it can do stuff inside that, but it's nowhere near as effective. So you open the app and you'll see a row at the top with chat, Co-Work here, like this. You see it here? Co-Work in code, okay? You're going to click Co-Work and then you're in. So you just come in here and you will see it here, chat, Co-Work, and you're in. It's on every paid plan now, Mac or Windows. If you're on the free plan, you won't see it. So you need to make sure you're on a paid plan. Step 2, give it a folder. Okay, so make one folder on your computer for it to work in. Point Co-Work at that particular folder. Everything it reads and makes lives in that folder. Everything else on your machine stays private. Okay, I'll explain this as we go because I know it can be confusing. It's confusing for me for a long time. It still is a lot of stuff. I'm just trying to spend a lot of time on it so you don't have to. So folder examples here. You've got my business. Then you've got some context, so what it needs to know about you. Then you've got work, so like any jobs that are in progress, current work and projects that you're working on. And then you have output, okay, just come off that. And then you have finished files. So you want to name them how you like. So whatever you like, remember, something easy for you. I think this is probably the best. Just use these names if you want. And this is just what keeps them tidy. So step 3, teach it your business, just like anything you do with any LLM, whether it's ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, doesn't matter what it is. You want to teach it your business. You cannot skip this part. I think if you've watched enough of my YouTube videos, you'll now think I'm being a bit of a broken record. But trust me, Claude sometimes goes off in a tangent. Any AI does. And so it does that at the best of times, let alone not knowing your actual business. So this is what it makes it yours. Drop 3 short files in the context folder. Co-Work reads them at the start of every job, so it always knows who you are and how you work. So for example, right, you have it here. You have about-me.md. So you can just copy this. I'll put all this in the description for you. So you're going to have about me, my business. You're going to fill in your name, your business. For example, let's say you're a gym in Glasgow with 200 members. What you sell, so let's say, for example, you have a high ticket B2B offer. Let's say you're a real estate plumber, whatever it is you are. And then you have my clients, so who they are, what they actually want from your service and what the struggles are. And then your goals right now. So maybe you want to fill a challenge. Maybe you want to cut down admin hours. And then your team. So what's the names of the team members and what do they actually do? So take some time just to fill that in. If you've been using Claude for a while, if you saw my other Claude master document video with Claude Brain, you'll already have filled this in. Use that document that you've already filled in and send it into Claude Co-Work. If you haven't, you'll need to do this part here. Next, we move on to brandvoice.md. So this is how you write. So your tone, direct, plain, friendly, whatever your tone is. Always short sentences, contractions, UK spelling. Never use words like words you hate and jargon. Let me just escape this so there's not too much text on the screen. It should read like a real business owner talking to a mate, for example. Now, the way that I did this is I just went to LinkedIn and used Apify to scrape my LinkedIn, scraped my last 30 posts and got Claude to study my posts, the way that I write, how I speak, tone, the way that I add a little bit of humour in there, and it scraped my tone and my whole brand, sort of the way I come across in my branding. And the reason I got LinkedIn is because it's one of those platforms where you have to write quite well. You have to take your time to write it. And then I trained Co-Work on that particular voice. What I very quickly did as well was, because I had that context of how I write on LinkedIn, I set up a Co-Work AI employee who, anytime I have a call on Zoom and Fathom, it takes the Fathom recording and it speaks to the skill that I've trained it up on with LinkedIn, how I talk, and it writes a post off the back of each conversation I have on Zoom. So for example, every single week when I log in on Monday, Claude Co-Work has spoke to Fathom after all of my calls that week, and it's created a LinkedIn post off the back of it, like a brain dump. So for example, had a call with a client yesterday who was really struggling with X, Y, and Z, and it gives me that full caption in my voice off the back of the call. Sometimes I do this straight away, and I'll be just off the call with a client and I'll post on LinkedIn like 5 minutes later, and the client will be like, how the hell did you do that? And that's because I've got an AI employee working for me in the background, you know, pulling tasks. So that's how I can save time on that. Anyway, I'm rambling. So your writing sample, so paste a paragraph that you wrote. You want to do a little bit more than that, but you want to prepare this with your brand voice so that anything that you produce is, of course, you. So moving down here, we've got working preferences. So how I want work done. You maybe want to tell it to always ask me before sending anything to anyone. Now, of course, the nature of getting an AI employee, Claude Co-Work, to do stuff for you, you want to make sure it's proactive. Like, you want to give it some freedom and autonomy. But depending on certain things, you might get it to ask you first. Okay. So for example, with that Fathom recording, I've already given it full permission. Go and get that and put it in my inbox every single Monday. And then save finished files in the output folder. Documents, clear headings, short paragraphs. So, sometimes when you speak to AI and get it to do stuff, it'll just give you stuff that's all jumbled up and things like that. You want to make sure you test it. Make sure it's got clear headlines, short paragraphs. I'm just giving you examples here. You'll have your own version of this. Maybe it's a default format. So for me, I work a lot in Google Docs. So I want to make sure anything that Co-Work does, it gives me an actual Google Doc so that I can click the Google Doc button and go to Google Docs and then refine it to the way that I like it. Okay, so every single Thursday I get reports from my clients on ads, and I get a full document created from their summary from their ad accounts, and I've kind of trained it up on how I would react to certain metrics going skewed or metrics in KPI, and it creates a full document in my tone. I go in and I make sure it's all right, and then I add in my expertise, and that document's ready to be handed to a client. So whenever it's unsure, you might say, ask me one clear question instead of guessing. This is really just putting your Claude Co-Work in some guardrails because it likes to go off in a tangent sometimes, AI. So you don't have to open a text editor. Paste each one into Co-Work and say, save this as aboutme.md in my folder, and it will write them for you. Okay, so by the way, the best way to do this as well is watch this video, use my prompts here that I'm giving you, and just speak to Co-Work about it. Okay, it's really simple. Step 4, you want to give it a job and then actually watch it work. The one thing I would highly recommend here is go through the full process of a workflow. For example, with Fathom that I had, and creating a LinkedIn post for me every single day, I had to make sure it did it properly, and I went through a few different refinements to make sure the tone was right. Then I set up the schedule, and I'm going to show you how you can set up scheduled stuff as well. So you want to hand it something real and watch the first run. I set it loose on my Instagram. It opened my logged in profile in Chrome, scrolled 120 reels, and it pulled the views, then read the captions and comments on my top ones, and it came back with my median. So my best ever reel at that point was 27.6k, and the 5 things that my winners share. Real data off my real account is stuff a chat box can never see. So I got it to go into my Instagram and create a professional dashboard. We've actually got the dashboard inside Claude with Chris if you want to see it. But anyway, it went in, pulled all of that, and I was able to then create content off the back of that. I could have kept going with that workflow. I could have said, okay, every Monday, keep doing that, and then pull me my best performing content and stuff. But I don't need to do that now. I've already got the idea to go forward. So down here, you can see Instagram Audit. So you could just copy this if you want. Open my Instagram in Chrome, scroll my reels, and pull the views for the last 100. Open my top 10 and read the captions, dates, and comments. Tell me my median views, my best reel, and the 5 things that my winners share. Save it in the output folder. So that'll do all of that while you go and kick about the house, chill, go to the gym, whatever it is, and then come back and it'll be ready for you. And so that, when you're filming, go and create, recreate, and change the topic to the best performing reels that you've got. So watch the first run, so you trust it. After that, you let it get on with it, okay? Step 5, put a job on repeat. So here's where it turns into an actual employee. Type /schedule, give it a job and a time, and it runs on its own. So mine pulls my meta ad numbers every Monday before I'm at my desk and leaves a 1-page report on my desk. Now, I'm going to show you inside Claude Co-Work here. I am on my laptop. I have Co-Work different on my Mac computer here. But if you come down here, you will see this part here, the /schedule. So every Monday at 7 a.m, I want you to pull last week from my meta ads connector. Show me spend, leads, cost per lead, and my best and worst ad. Flag anything that's above £18 a lead. Save it as a one-page report on my desktop. So you can get this to do this on repeat, so that you just open up your desktop, go into that folder, and you will see that one-page report for your ad account. Okay, I'm going to show you this in a minute. So one catch, and it's a real one: for a scheduled job to run, your computer has to be on and awake with the app open. Okay, turn on keep awake, leave the machine running, and you're set. Obviously, if you want to do stuff with your computer off and things like that, you need to go into the terminal and you need to create sort of autonomous things up all together. You can use other stuff as well, and you can get Claude Code in Claude Terminal to do a lot of this stuff. But for a lot of people watching this right now, we just need some time back from operations and processes that we've got in place. So obviously, like I said, if you want it to remember what you did last time, always wrap everything in a folder in a project. So you might have a meta folder that has all this running for you. So you always go into that and you tell it your KPIs, you tell it what to look for. So you always want to make sure that, yes, you can do all of this, but you want to make sure it's also in a folder instead of trying to cross-pollinate jobs. Okay, so bonus, run it from your phone. Okay, you don't have to be at your desk. Dispatch lets you text at a job from the Claude app on your phone. Okay, so it does the work on your computer and pings you when it's done. So let's say you start this job, you get dragged out of the house because you need to go somewhere, and you're in the passenger seat. You can get Claude Dispatch up and start finishing off the stuff if you need to do it. If you're commuting, whatever it might be, getting the train, you can continue to use the power of your computer on your phone. So on your desktop, open Cowork and click Dispatch. Pair it with your phone, so update the Claude mobile app to make sure the latest version's there. Keep the machine on and awake, then text it a job. You could text it like staff. So open the latest report in my folder and text me back the 3 numbers that matter most. Now we're starting to get into AI employee territory. Okay, so before you trust it, what to watch out for: 2 things. It's still new, so it will change and then it will trip up. And when it's clicking around your apps on its own, keep half an eye on what you let it touch. It does the work, you stay in charge. Okay, just a pre-warning. If you do anything, it's not my fault. This is a disclaimer. So what I want to very quickly show you here is if I open up Cowork and come in here, you can see I've got a whole lot of stuff on the side here. But when you go to Cowork and you go to new task, this is where you really want to be to get all this stuff done. Okay, you can see over here, here's dispatch. As I've said, there's keep awake. You've got mobile notifications, all of that sort of stuff, and you can do the things in here. Now, when you come in here, you can just do the / and go to schedule. See, like here. And as I mentioned, we wanted to set up that scheduled task. So I could actually just copy this here, go into Cowork and do this. Now you'll see it start to load things up. It's important to know that I've got my meta connected to this. Obviously you'd want to do that. I've got that in another video. You can see if you want to learn how to do that. But as it's loading up, we'll come back here. I want to make sure I've covered everything for you. It looks all good to me. Yeah, well, that's loading to produce it. If you want every prompt and template from this build and everything else that I've got, and you've seen 10 times more on the actual skill group, you can join Claude with Chris, and it shows you the rest of the systems that I run in my business. It's $47 a month, cancel anytime. We've got around 170 people in there already, just thriving and learning Claude. So back to this, it should be ready. So you can see here what it's done is it's saying scheduled task, weekly meta ads report. So it's now giving you some details here, and it's pretty much like going through and saying, do you want to schedule this? And you just hit schedule. Okay, and it'll come back and forward, and if you've not connected your meta account, then of course you'll need to change that. And that is it. What my recommendation would also be is just go into connectors here and just make sure you've got a bunch of stuff connected. You can see here I've got the meta MCP, which I added by a custom. I've got another video on that. I've got Fathom here. As I mentioned, it pulls Fathom to get all my calls to turn into LinkedIn. I've not got as many on the laptop, most of it's on the Mac there. But that is it. That's how you can start to create your very own Claude Co-Work AI employee. Hope you found it useful. Down below in the description, you will see links to the stuff. And of course, if you want me to build things for your business, you want my agency to take over your ads, your AI infrastructure, and of course, the mrragency.com is below. See you in the next video.